This is Adam Watson.
Robert Diaz.
Levon Baker.
You're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. So right before we started recording, I was telling you Levon is now in the world of the House of 1,000 Corpses. You didn't tell him that story yet, right?
Yeah, so this is like what? Last, say, Tuesday night?
I thought it was over the weekend, but it might have been Tuesday.
Yeah, I guess it would have been more like Sunday night or Monday night. I'm at work. I've been there for like a half hour. I'm tired as fuck. And I go out to help
And you
customer.
work at a gas station late at night.
Yeah, I work at a crappy gas station graveyard, so it's like 11 o'clock at night. And Carter pulls up. I go out and help him. As I'm standing out there helping this one guy, another car passes by. It's like a Subaru Jeep type vehicle. And
those are two very different.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. I guess like a Jeep Cherokee or
Jeep Cherokee?
Yeah, Jeep Cherokee.
There we go.
Jeep
Levon
Cherokee.
doesn't drive just
No,
for
I do not drive,
so
car models are a whole new thing for me. Yeah, so this Jeep pulls up, and it's playing like music that I can only describe as Lord of the Rings music.
Nice.
Very fairy sounding, and a violin with like soft piano with it.
Okay,
something that you would
sound.
hear like when, you know, a hobbit is out in their little hobbit hole or something. Very pretty fantasy type music.
Right.
So I start walking towards it, and this guy is like, he had to be 400 or 500 pounds, like, big husky guy, had a huge red beard, and he's wearing a red blanket that's pulled over his head like a hood, and wrapped around his shoulders like a cape, and he's got a half mask that's made of, like, vinyl or rubber, that's a clown face that just goes over his nose and his eyes. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
And what time at night is this?
This is like 11:30 by the time that they had pulled in. And so I walk over and I'm like, okay, this is weird, but whatever. It's probably just doped up on something. So I'm like, hey, what can I get for you? And he's like, hello, sir! I would like to request that you fill my vehicle with the most perfect unleaded, the most perfect gassed with no leads. I'm like, I can do that. And he's like, that would be so great. I would very kindly appreciate that. I'm like, oh yes, it's whatever. I can do it, because I just like started like playing along. Because I was like, this is fucking weird. So I kind of peek around, and like on the passenger side, this guy leans over, and he's got like this chrome gold ghost face mask, but it's got like ghost face eyes, but then it's got like a frowny face, so it looks like kind of like a theater mask mixed with ghost face. And the guy's just sitting there like this, and he just starts nodding his head up and down. I'm like, okay. And then he just kind of like slowly lifts one arm and just waves. I'm like, what the fuck? This is weird. So he gives me the cash, and I walk around, and I'm very, very carefully walking around the car, like at a distance. Pop open the gas tank, put the thing in there. I'm like, I'll be right back. And he's like, that would be so wonderful. And I'm like, okay. Go pop out the other guy's gas tank, come back, and Ghostface kind of peeks out of the window, looks at me and nods again. I'm like, alright, you guys have a wonderful night. And it's like, oh, we will! It will be so wonderful! I'm like, okay, so now I'm like, there's windows that are open on every side, but the car has like tinted windows, so like they're just half rolled up. I'm like, I don't know if there's someone in there that's gonna fucking shoot me, or like stab me. If I get too close to the door, they're gonna pop it open, pull me in. No one's
I think
gonna
if
know.
anything, that's what it's going to be. They're going to steal you.
Yeah,
they're
I was
going
like,
to
this
steal
is
you and
fucking
turn
weird.
you into their sex slave.
Yeah, I was like, this is a Rob Zombie movie type shit.
So it's obvious that was kind of the precursor, and that they're going to be back for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fucking weird.
They wanted to gauge his reflexes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to be walking home one night, and that thing's going to creep up
Dude,
behind
yeah,
you.
I was freaked out. So, like, I go in the doghouse, and I very carefully pull it shut, and I'm, like, hoping that they're just going to leave, because I can't lock it from the inside. But I have to put their cash in the till.
The doghouse is the area they sit in.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
little metal shack. And so, I'm putting the money in the till, and all of a sudden, like, I can just hear the music slowly getting louder and louder and louder, until it's, like, blaring. Like, it's shaking his vehicle. This fantasy music's playing so loud. And I was like, okay, at this point, like, they are getting ready to leave. Money's in the till. I'm gonna go. So I kind of crop out of the thing, lock it up, and he just, like, rolls the window down all the way and just screams, "Hi-ho, Silver! Away!" As he's revving his engine, like he's trying to, like, speed off really fast. And the vehicle just sits there. It's just sitting still. He didn't realize that he had it in park. He never took it off. And so, like, he kind of looks around, like, he's all, like, nervous and, like, weirded out, like, I don't know if this is right. And then you just, like, hear it just, like, rev up a little bit, and then it just peels very slowly out of the parking lot. Goes turning down the road, and then it starts speeding up. And about 10 minutes later, I come back out, and there's, like, 2 sheriffs passing by, an ambulance, and a fire truck going the same direction. I was like, I really hope that wasn't connected, because I felt obligated to call the cops, but I didn't want to.
Well, they didn't technically commit any
Right.
crimes.
Yeah,
so.
no, it was just kind of weird. Like, you're wearing masks, it's the middle of, like, fucking February.
And it's the middle of Malala.
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, if it were, like, in Portland, you'd
Right.
be like, whatever.
Yeah, it just seemed weird. Like, they were clearly on something, the way that they were acting and, like, his, like, twitches and crap, and I was just like, what the fuck?
And they were talking like a D&D type guy or something.
Yeah, and maybe that's all they were. Maybe they were just a couple nerds that were, like, a little stoned.
They were
and
still in
decided,
character.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
They just...
Maybe. I mean, you did say that the guy had, like, a cloak around him, so
Yeah,
maybe.
he's like the royal court jester.
Or maybe he was supposed to be like a Harlequin.
That would
Were
make
there
sense.
any diamonds on it at all?
No.
Okay, Harlequins are supposed to have diamonds.
Yeah,
but...
the cloak was literally a red fleece blanket.
Okay.
You gotta make do with what you got.
That's true. That's true, and there aren't very many things that have diamond patterns on them.
Yeah, he just kept fixing it and kind of tying
Harlequins
it.
are
Not.
white, yellow, and red, right? I'm not talking about the Batman character, by the way. I'm talking about real Harlequins. Well, real. Fictional Harlequins from old stories, anyway.
Yeah, it was weird. Just gave me the worst vibes, and I go in and tell my manager, and she's just like, "Oh, you're so silly, coming up with these elaborate stories." I'm like, "That is not a story." She's like, "Well, I guess I'll have to
They
look it up
tried
on."
to kidnap me.
Yeah, I was
No,
like,
no,
"This is
that's
freaking
not
weird."
funny.
And she's like, "I guess
Get
I'll
your
have
ass
to-
back out there.
If you're telling the truth, I'm gonna look it up on the camera so I can see it. Which pumps were it on?" And I like pointed to her and like showed her, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna pull up on the cameras because like I know exactly which camera hits that angle." And I was like, "If you do, I want a copy of it. Like, you can give copies to the police of other shit, then I need a DVD copy of this. That way I can show everyone when I'm just standing there awkwardly with, Hi ho, Silver!
That way, when you can just leave a little note on that on your desk. If I'm not back,
Right?
watch this.
Well, maybe that's what you should do next time if they show up again. And they will show up again.
Oh,
Make
yeah.
no mistake about that. Is you should get your phone out, set it to record, and just put it propped
that's
up
a
in the
good point,
doghouse
yeah.
so that it points out there so that if they snatch you, at least, you know.
It's a very good point. It was fucking weird.
Yeah. So anyway, Levon's going to become a sex slave.
I really
Sounds
hope
like it.
not.
Maybe it's because they heard of his infamous cat milking abilities.
Cat milking? What the fuck?
He did not listen to the last podcast you and I did.
No, I haven't had data.
Well, you would know what that meant had you listened to it.
I'm
So,
secretly a cat milker.
Anyway, in Darkslinger news, Levon's working on something new. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
So Adam finally got the script to me for the El Bovine Morte Inspiratu.
Oh boy.
Yeah. 2 pages of glorious script that equals out to about 6 pages of webcomic.
He means 2 typed pages.
Yeah.
For 6 pages of script.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I already started doing all the rough pictures. We went over and showed him the panels and reviewed it. Now I'm going to start penciling it in.
When do you think
Making it
that's
look
going to
better.
start?
Let's see here. You have the roughs done, but there's still ways to go. So I would say we probably still have at least a month before we start
That's
posting.
what I would think.
After he gets good on about the first 3 pages, we could start posting it because
Yeah.
then I'd be pretty confident that in those 3 weeks he'd have the next one done and so on and so forth.
Right.
But I'd say we're probably still a good month away.
It's exciting, though.
And you're going to have it lead up like all the way to the elections?
No, this actually is
Oh.
not anything that has anything to do with the elections.
Oh, okay.
So this is kind of the introduction of Inspiratu, because up until now he's only appeared in pinups, right? The premise is basically that he has been hired to give an inspirational speech at Le Mime's facility, or at least that's what you assume, because Inspiratu is giving a motivational speech at Le Mime's facility. But he makes a mistake of trying to inspire the soldiers to become their own leaders. So that doesn't sit very well with Lei Mime.
And then something ensues after that.
Yes, exactly.
That'll be funny.
But my goal with it was to try to see how many times I could get Inspiratu to say inspire, inspiring, inspirational, something like that. So
Something having to do with inspiring people.
yeah, so pretty much every line of dialogue he has, I worked that in there.
Does he go out in the sun?
I never thought about that.
In Bram Stoker's Dracula, vampires can go in the sun. So there is no reason he couldn't, if we want to stick with Bram Stoker's, which is what Nosferatu was based off of. Because Nosferatu only got created because Bram's widow wouldn't sign off on them having the movie rights. And so they altered it and did Nosferatu instead. And that's the whole reason the vampire in that looks so monstrous is because they were trying to steer clear of getting a copyright infringement lawsuit.
Which is ridiculous, because if you watch the Universal Dracula and then watch Nosferatu at the same time, it's almost scene for scene the exact same.
Yes.
With the exception of, like, the black borders where, like, the words are because there's
but
no dialogue.
The question there is, did the Universal Studios Dracula take from Nosferatu? Because if you read Bram Stoker's book, while the Universal Studios is probably as good of an interpretation as they could at that point in time,
right,
it's not a straight across adaptation.
Yeah.
So there could be the argument made that some of Nosferatu was taken to make the first Dracula film.
It's a good like what
Nosferatu is older.
15-year difference. Mm-hmm. It was
Nosferatu was 1922.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then 38 would have been Dracula, I think.
Okay, so when was Dracula with Bela Lugosi?
1931.
Okay.
So I have a DVD that's like a remastered version of Nosferatu, where they dubbed it.
Yeah.
And I'm almost positive that they literally pulled the Bela Lugosi Dracula theme and stuck it over the credits for Nosferatu.
So they're remaking Nosferatu, did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Doug Jones playing the lead role. Doug Jones, who is set to play Lei Mime in a future Elbowvine Morte movie.
That would be fantastic if
if
you could pull that one off.
It would be. I'd love to just have like a 5-minute commercial where he played him. If I could,
be awesome.
if that's all I could ever get, then I'd be fine with that.
So Nosferatu was released in 1922, but it didn't come out in America until 1929.
That makes sense because it was German, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Max Schreck was Nosferatu, right?
Yeah.
What the hell's the name of it?
Which one?
The one with John Malkovich and Willem Dafoe, where they're taking the whole thing, Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah.
That's it, right? Where it's
it's like a documentary.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be that Max Schreck was actually a vampire.
Yeah.
And he had just given the vampire the name of an actor that was hot in Hollywood, but it wasn't really that actor.
Right. Speaking of vampires, did you see that they either just now released or they're releasing the What We Do in the Shadows TV show?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that movie?
That was like a mockumentary sort of
movie.
Who's that?
Oh God.
That
Fred
group
Armisen.
That group that did it. I want to say they're Australian.
Yeah, it's the guy from like Portlandia.
I've never
Fred
seen
Armisen
Portlandia.
is in it, but oh God, what is their name?
I can't even think
I was
of it.
just looking at that because I was thinking about watching that movie the other day.
The name of that show does not appeal to me. If you live that close to Portland, why would you want to watch a show about it?
Right. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like, it's a mockumentary about modern day vampires.
Yeah, it's these three vampires that try to live together.
Oh.
They're all roommates, and Peter is their roommate that lives in the basement. They feed chickens to, and he's literally just Nosferatu. Like, wakey, wakey, Peter. And
are they actually supposed to be real vampires?
Yeah.
Or? Oh, okay.
Flight of the Conchords.
Yes.
I love them. I love them.
They're those two are the people that made the movie.
It's Business Time is one of the greatest songs of all time. You know that one, right?
It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Damn. Oh, I love those guys. They're great.
Yeah, it's a good movie. They like have like their little roommates, and then one of them decides that he's going to turn someone to a vampire, and then they bring him in, and it's all awkward because they're like, this guy's new, and he wants to go and tell everyone that he's a vampire. And so they like go to parties and crap, and it's hilarious.
And they're trying to go into clubs, but the bouncer, so he's like, "You need to invite us in."
Yeah, I guess I want to say it's FX just started a series for it.
Nice. I'll definitely watch that. I like those guys a lot.
It was on Netflix. It might still be there.
That's where I watched it.
I'll see. What's it called again?
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to hear it when I edit this.
There you go.
There's like, we're doing notes for me the whole time we're recording.
Right.
Because as we're going through this, I'm like, oh, I better write that down. That was actually a good idea. Or you'll say somebody on Instagram I should follow, and then as I'm editing it, I remember to actually go follow them.
So, a discussion that we had about the Ferratu family.
Yes.
I remembered the other one because I pulled him out. It was the Crow's Ferratu. And it's literally just Nosferatu dressed as the crow. It's so ridiculous. I'll have to send you the pictures later.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Levon had thought to add in this whole Ferratu family that Nosferatu has somewhere, right? And I thought if we're going to do that, the one character we have to work in is Nosferatu's twin sister, who looks just like him, dresses just like him, but has a blonde Heidi-style wig. And whatever Nosferatu is shown, his sister can't be shown, and vice versa. So you're always just wondering if this is just actually Nosferatu wearing a blonde Heidi wig.
What does she do?
She's just, his family, we don't really have anything they do yet.
Yeah.
Nor do I know if we really want them to do anything because, he's this motivational speaker. Maybe he comes from a family of people who are just, happy-go-lucky and just sit around all day watching TV and don't really do much.
We're all just exceptionally nice people.
But they all have to look exactly like Nosferatu.
They're trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, because, he's a completely different vampire than most vampires. Which will come into play when we introduce Vlad into the story as well.
Can you put him in the background of one of your books? Just like randomly?
Probably.
He's just kind of like standing there hanging out. You don't.
It's
really
actually
notice
something
him.
Robert was talking about when you help revise some of the artwork for Chronicles of Von Helsing, how you should draw an Nosferatu and a painting in the background.
Hey, you gotta sneak
That'd be
some stuff
awesome.
in.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with it as long as
you're
it's
cool with
painted
that.
in a way that looks like it's Chronicles of Von Helsing artwork.
Right.
I'd be perfectly fine with that. But Pat's done a design for the way Nosferatu will appear in Mini Slingers too. So Pat, that's actually something we should touch on really quick. I have all the designs done for this year's paper dolls. And
nice.
Pat did the artwork on all of them this year. So they're all Mini Slinger style, and Nosferatu has his own. So
How many do you have?
let's see, there's Nosferatu, David, Melissa. Or no, we didn't do Melissa, we did Todd. So Nosferatu, David, Todd. There are two versions of Sally. One where she's got her happy-go-lucky face and one where she's got her extremely angry face. Zeke, which this will actually be the first time Zeke's been done as a paper doll. The Popper, and of course Little Lame Mime. And then Katie. We did one of Katie as well. So
You didn't want to do one where you turn her around and then her face is on the back, angry.
that might be funny. But no, we didn't do that.
She's just the mayor from Nightmare Before
It
Christmas.
wouldn't be that hard for somebody to alter it, though, if they wanted that to be the case. It might be kind of hard to swivel a head on the paper dolls.
Oh no, I was thinking you just have to turn the whole doll around.
So have a front on both ends.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are 7 in total, counting the 2 versions of Sally.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're cooking on some new stories with that. We're actually currently working on 2 things for Mini Slingers. So the first one is we're doing a second part to Show and Tell Day. So it makes sense, there were multiple show and tell days when you were a kid. And so this is going to be a different group of kids that are doing their show and tell things. Starting with Katie this time around, because Katie has a lay mime stuffed animal that she's wanting to show off, and lay mime is not happy about that. And then at the same time, we're working up some promo pieces that feature the mini slingers. It occurred to me that we should be parodying Darkslinger covers using the mini slingers.
Oh, that'd be
So
pretty good.
right now, Pat's working up a image of Ghost Assassin cover number 1, where David has a gigantic squirt gun instead of a sniper rifle. And since Brooke and Scotty are on the side of Ghost Assassin number 1, and they're not used in mini slingers as of right now anyway, he replaced those 2 circles with the popper and lay mime instead. So
That's pretty cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
It looks
Yeah,
pretty
it's
cool
a lot
from
of
the
fun.
little sketch that I saw.
and we'll be parodying other things as well. So as time goes by, you'll see some Chronicles of Von Helsing, and I just want to parody all the covers that I have, but use mini slingers for it.
Yeah, it's your shit. You can have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing right there, is just having fun with it. And coming up in mini slingers, the mini slingers are actually going to be having a baseball game against the little kid versions of the Warrior and Keeper Comics crew. So I asked Ben if I could use his characters, and I warned him that I'm going to be making Doom 2099 jokes about the Black Suit of Death. He okayed it. So
Well, that's cool.
yeah. So it's fun both in terms of being able to play with someone else's characters, and I always liked when I was a kid when an X-Men issue would come out and it was just them doing something stupid and fun like playing baseball. So it's kind of an homage to comics I liked as a kid too, But yeah, it gives me an opportunity to show which kids are really unathletic. No matter how high a vampire power Zeke has, he's not going to be able to hit a ball,
It's just the one thing you can't do.
But yeah, because he's kind of like this little goth preppy mix type kid, right? He cannot hit a baseball. There's no way I'm going to let him do anything athletic that he's actually succeeding at. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. In other Darkslinger news, Joel is cooking on Ghost Assassin issue number 4. He's got a ton of the work all complete, and it looks fantastic. Joel is absolutely on his A game with this one. It looks so great. And I honestly didn't know his artwork could improve, but I gotta say, it's better now than it even was with the last issue. So,
Nice.
stuff looks amazing. On issue number 1, there was a snag with the printer. So, I thought that I had cleared every single black area that was problematic for him. But you know how Ghost Assassin has black borders? Those are not large black areas as far as I'm concerned. They're less than an inch on most pages. They had said that all large black areas need to be the specific mix of black, right? But I'd altered page number 1 and 21, which were the pages that just had pure black backgrounds with images in the middle of them. Had changed them so they were no longer no longer looked like that. Figured the problem was solved, right? They did the newest check and right before they went to print, and it turns out that there were still large black borders or black areas. And I said, you have to tell me what constitutes large black area, because clearly
you're
you
just keep doing it over and over.
yeah,
again like
because
that, so.
you just saying large black area is not telling me what the problem is here. So the graphic designer that works there had said that the panel borders were showing up as large black areas, which is really confusing me because every single one of those is far less than an inch in height. So I cannot see how that would be construed as a large area of print on a 10.5 inch page. But whatever, they say it is. And so the black had to be changed. So, as I mentioned before, I'm not the greatest graphic designer in the world. Everything I do graphic design-wise is stuff that I'm just teaching myself how to do, right? But I figured out that if I multiply the layers on Photoshop and then put a white border around any of the borders that actually appear there, and then put a different black border over the top of the borders, because basically, like, if I just put the black borders over where they already exist, I'm not going to be able to see that they're actually there without turning it invisible, the layer that actually shows the artwork. So I had to put white borders over it first to kind of mark out where the panel borders are, and then do these borders around it, and then kill the layer that had the white on it, and then be left with the other layer, then make the one layer visible, and then merge the two.
Sure, simple enough.
Right? Because if I just used the paint bucket fill thing like some people would do, what that actually will do is create distortion all around the image. So it took me, I think, about 2 days of just periodically staring at Photoshop before I figured out that's what I needed to do. I looked all over on the internet and could not figure out a way to just easily manipulate the color to be the exact color they wanted. Because if you can replace color, you can take blue and change it to green and all this, but you don't have exact control over the exact color of green it'll turn. You can get it to as close to approximation as what you want, and with most printers that's probably going to be fine. For whatever reason, they only wanted to print rich black for these areas, so that's very specifically 30, 30, 10, 100 in the CMYK numbers. I know none of that means anything to you, that's fine. But I could not replace the color to match that color. I had to actually add in new borders. So this is the best way I figured out how to do it. Seems to be working, but one page is taking me like an hour to do.
So you changed from black to black?
Yes. It's just it's a richer shade of black. That's all it is. And
I
honestly,
don't get it, man.
It's probably not even going to be noticeable in the print, to be honest. I don't see how it could be. And this is not the first time I printed out these particular pages. And I printed them out commercially before. So not just with a home computer. So I don't get why it would all of a sudden change, but every single printer does have different mechanics for their machines. So I'm just going to go ahead and, say they know what they're talking about better than I do because it's their machine that they work with every single day. And I'll do what they want,
Some places run their own programs that they build, so they can't do what other places
That's
can do.
true too, yeah. So in any case, I'm having to go over and add over all these panels, and I was really hoping to have that revision to them tonight so that as soon as they open up tomorrow, it looks great, let's move ahead with it.
You're sitting here wasting your time talking to this jackass?
I know, but the simplistic fact is I need a break from it occasionally because, like I said, it's taking me like an hour a damn page. And out of the 32 pages in the comic, I think there is 25 of them in total that have black borders.
Is this the last one you need to do then?
Hopefully. One of the things they hit me back with that they thought was problematic too is that with the trim, the bleed doesn't go clear to the edges. Bleed is anything that you have that's actual artwork that gets cut off. But I already looked and saw where the crop lines were. Find where the crop lines are. So I messaged him, I was like, I understand that. So what are you trying to tell me? Well, on some of them, there may be a sliver of black around the edges. So what? I knew that already. It's not a big deal to me. But it might be a sliver of black around the panel. So it'll look the exact same as every other time I printed this. Because everybody does cropping.
Maybe they're worried about you coming back at them for that sliver.
I would assume that's what it is. And I can't fault them at all for just wanting to make sure that they provide me with the best product they can. And I appreciate that. I do. There's a part of me that gets a bit frustrated after a while, though.
Yeah. Are you going to go back to them for the rest?
As long as it looks good. I mean, here's the thing about dealing with any printers, okay? Whenever you deal with any printer for the first time, you have to be open to completely adjusting every single file you've done. Because every single printer you work with is going to want something different. And every single one of them has their machines calibrated in this way or that way. Or, this worked the last time you did it, and it probably honestly would work if you just run it through their machine this way. But they're afraid it won't because it's not the way they've always done it, I mean, printers are just like anybody else in that way. They want to keep doing it the way they've always done it. In the way that they know for a fact works.
Well, I guess if it works out, then you know what they want later on.
Exactly. So,
helpful.
I won't have this issue because in future printings, I just tell my colorist, okay, these are the black palette they want, make sure that's what we get, So
You have to use that specific black on every bit of black or just your borders?
well, see, that's one of the things that doesn't make much sense about it, because there are some pages that have more black mixed in with the coloring of the actual illustrations than what's on the borders. But no, I'm not changing that. I'm only changing the borders.
You better hope they don't come back and be like, this is the wrong black.
Well, honestly, if that is, then this is the wrong printer.
Yeah.
So, you know, because I'm not messing with the actual coloring of the images. And if I've been able to print it out before, there's no reason I can't print it out again.
True.
So, whatever the case, though, I think that it's about done. I don't think it's that they couldn't hit print on it. I think it's exactly what you said. They're just worried about me getting the absolute best product possible. And honestly, that's a good sign for dealing with somebody.
Yeah.
You know? So while it's frustrating currently, and it's been frustrating for months, the frustration, I fully believe, is almost at an end. And I think that the product that I get is going to have been worth the wait. So I want it to look the absolute best it can. They want it to look the absolute best that it can, or that it does. And I think when the backers get it and they see it, they're going to be happy that the time was taken to make sure that it looks the absolute best that it can.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
As everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
You can think it looks like shit, but people like it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what you want.
Well, who will save the world for that? I mean, the
Yeah.
printing
really.
of it, there's nothing wrong with. I love the print job on it. I think the printing was amazing. But, honestly, I don't like my writing in that story, and there's very little I like about that one. And a lot of it was probably just due to the frustration of having people get pissed off at me for 2 years while it was being completed. But everybody who got it loved it, and I was happy to hear that. And they seemed to like the writing that I added to it, and I was happy about that.
That one was a whole different beast, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
so
completely.
much bigger, and that was not just you.
Oh, no. But let's not go into that because, I don't do my podcast so that I can, talk about that kind of stuff. Like,
No, it's just good to mention that wasn't exactly on you.
yeah, but I'm the owner of the company, so it is.
True.
Yeah,
you fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Never
No matter
buying one of your comics again.
Well, unfortunately, there probably are people who think that.
I've never bought one of your comics, though.
Yeah, you have.
Have I?
Yeah.
When did I buy something from you?
Oh, I don't know. When you back the Ghost Assassin Kickstarter?
Yeah. Touche.
So, the thing is no matter what happened there, no matter what transpired, no matter who's to blame for this or that, I'm the head of the company. I'm the one who signs the checks. I'm the one who pays the printers. The one who does that. So everything responsibility-wise falls on me, no matter what. And I'm willing to take that, because it is my company. So if Levon fucks up on Inspiratu, I can't go onto Instagram and be like, look at this fuck up by Levon. You know what I mean?
Well, you can.
Yeah, but you shouldn't. I mean, like when Alan drew 6 fingers on Johnny Vega in the Johnny Vega Ghost Assassin crossover, I couldn't publicly admit that. Oops! Sorry, Alan. I just sold you out about your 6-finger drawing. So, another news that's not quite as pleasant, though. I'm having to do a replacement on the art for Diary of a Dead Man.
And that sucks, because there was some good stuff in there.
There's some great stuff in there. But on the plus side, Melissa Spandry is excited to start working on the covers. I'm going to just have her do all 6 covers. You guys seen her artwork, you know the quality. She's going to do a great job.
Yeah.
I still really like that poster that you had for that, though.
I do too. And that was set to be one of the covers.
That sucks, man.
Yeah.
That piece was great.
I don't want to go into why I'm not using what already exists. But after some research, I might still be able to use a few of those pieces as pinups or something.
If you're going to make a switch like this, do you have to... You got to change up the art style altogether?
I don't know what the art style is going to be exactly after the interior. I know I want Melissa to do the covers because I know what she's provided for all the covers of all the various things she's done are amazing, and I know that, she can do something that's really kick-ass with these. That being said, I don't know what the final art is going to look like with the artist that I find.
Because yeah, she's going to do a great job, but the art definitely adds to the feel of the book.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I don't know who I'm going to get or who I'm going to be able to get. I've been looking at a lot of various artists, and I'll probably open up submissions on it at some point, just like I do with all my stuff. And that's generally how I find the artists that I find, is by opening up submissions and, getting somebody. And, but I will say that whoever I get, the series will probably see release a lot sooner.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, that'll be nice. It was taking a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things that sucks, is I have to change out somebody that I've been working with for 9 years. And this project has been in production for 9 damn years.
That's crazy.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, and here's a simplistic fact. Melissa's probably going to have the covers ready for me, in all 6 of them, within about probably 3.5 to 4 months. So all 6 of those covers will be done in that time frame. When I find somebody new who's doing this, they'll probably get the issues completed about once a month.
When's she going to have something rough to you?
I still have to actually find all of the references that I want in order to send her. Because the cover with Hero crouching down in the graveyard and Death is standing behind him, that I've actually used as a banner image at multiple cons, that image is actually based off of a photograph that I had done a photo shoot for Diary of a Dead Man, because I had the cover so specifically in my head when I first started writing that series, that I actually had Josh come over with his camera and set up like a photo area at the glass shop back when it was open. And Emily is actually posing as Death, and Paul, her brother, is posing as Hero. And I told them all the different positions to be in, and then Josh snapped the photos. So that cover is based off of one of the photos from that photo shoot. So that image I know I can still use. That's not an issue. So that kind of stuff, though, I need to find where I have any of those sort of photos, any of that sort of stuff, and figure out, what exactly I want all the covers to be, moving forward.
It's a long process.
It is.
Do you give an artist what you... Like, would someone that is in this position give the artist what they already have to be like, this is kind of what's going on? Or do you not do that because you don't want to taint what they're doing? Like, you don't want to steer them in one direction?
Do you mean would I give them references, or do you mean would I give them what the previous artist has completed?
That sort of thing. Like, show them, this is what they did, and kind of, this is what I was going for. Or do you not want to do that sort of thing because you don't want to sway them to just copy what's going on here?
I don't want them to copy what's already gone on.
So you're saying basically showing them reference pictures or giving them descriptions?
No, he means like showing them the style.
Like if you had to change out someone on any of your books, or if anyone had to change out someone.
See, that's the whole thing where it comes down to circumstances. If I needed, say like, Joel needed a couple-month break from Ghost Assassin. And he's like, okay, I can finish issue number 8, but then I won't be able to do it again until issue number 12. So I need to find a fill-in artist, right? So I wouldn't have an issue with going online and showing Joel's pages and saying, I need an artist who works in a similar style to this because I don't want to break the style consistency, right? I wouldn't have a problem doing that. That's quite different than something like what has occurred on Diary of a Dead Man, which, once again, I don't want to go into too specific details. But with something like this, it's kind of tainted to me now. And so I don't want to, But I would rather just kind of cast the net out there and say what I'm looking for and just see what I come back with, and see all the various artists that, hit me up.
Sounds like the safest idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so,
So it really just depends on the circumstances for how someone will handle it.
It absolutely just depends on the circumstances, yeah. and what your working relationship is with those creators, you know. When I first found Stefano, I was intentionally looking for somebody whose artwork would translate well being in the same book with Tony's. You know, so. But, whatever the case, you know, Diaries hit a bit of a snag again. So, it's par for the course, really.
It'll get there. Might just take a long run, but...
Yeah, it will. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be a whole lot shorter than what it's been already.
True.
Maybe it'll look really badass.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, and a year to 2 years is better than 9 years.
Well, that's the whole thing is I'm not going to hire somebody for it unless it looks really badass. You know, I'm not just going to rush into it. When I decided to have Melissa step in as cover artist, I had in mind that she could be for a long time before I asked her to be. You know? Like, I've been working with her for well over a year at this point. And having seen her covers all along, I thought about 6 months ago for the first time. You know, if I need her to at some point in time, she'd make a really good Diary of a Dead Man cover artist. So,
Good thing you thought that.
yeah.
Right?
You can't help but think things like that when you're in the position I'm in, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, because artists are contractors. They can up and leave any time.
Absolutely.
It's part of the job, I guess.
It can be. You know,
Yep.
you want people who have the best relationships with you possible that you can rely on again and again and again, you know.
Maybe a
But-
better way to put it is like their jobs can come out of nowhere and they might get
Yes.
sidetracked and things like that.
Yeah. 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 And the simplistic fact is that at times, you know, like one of my buddies, he's left without an artist for his book right now and has been for years because he had been successfully working with this guy for 5 years, I'm going to say, on his webcomic. And then one day that guy started working on comics that were more along the lines of what he'd always wanted to work on. And just left said friend kind of high and dry. And when he messaged him, he's like, you know, are you ever going to finish this with me? He's like, you know, honestly, me being the artist on this always meant more to you as a creator than this being the book I was the artist on ever meant to me as an artist. It's not something you want to hear. You want to hear that, you know, they've got a lot of investment in the property and that they want to be the artist on that book, you know.
Right.
But the reality is that sometimes that doesn't happen, you know. A lot of times it doesn't happen. A lot of times it's just a paycheck, you know.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and when something's just a paycheck, you're going to walk away from it a lot easier than something else that you view as like, I'm really meant to work on this, you know.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, definitely.
It's one of the greatest things about working with Joel on Ghost Acid, you know. It seems to mean just as much to him as what it does to me. And same with Pat on Mini Slingers, you know. And it's one of the greatest things that can happen in a lot of ways when you want to work with an artist that badly and there's some sort of ownership that they take in the character, you know? Like, even if they didn't create it or any of that, or they're not the writer or anything like that, if they feel completely invested in it, you know, they're going to give their best work in it. And why wouldn't you want, I mean, like, Ghost Assassin is probably going to be about 60 issues in total. Why wouldn't I want Joel to just be the artist on that from beginning to end?
Right.
There's
That'd be
absolutely
great.
no reason I wouldn't want him to be. I want it to be the team where it's me writing and Joel penciling from here to the very end of the book, you know? And
Makes
so,
sense.
you know?
You're the Robin to his Batman.
Okay, sure. I mean, like, I think you could have named two characters in comics that were a little bit more partner style than sidekick style. But
No, that one sounded funnier, so I went with that.
yeah,
one.
I kind of figured that. Yeah.
It's a dick move.
That's why you were Robin.
Kind of like you're the Dante to my Randall.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Definitely no
You're Dante. You're
Fuck
Dante.
God. I feel bad for you, Adam.
Whatever, Randall's awesome.
No one wants a Dante.
Yeah, no one wants to be Dante.
Yeah, but Levon's the guy who's played by Walt Flanagan that's just counting eggs on the floor.
Every day.
Okay, so before we close out tonight, you guys read anything good since the last podcast? Any recommendations?
Oof. I haven't read anything recently.
Loser.
Bought a bunch of books, but
What'd you buy?
I found an older, I think it was like 1987 copy of Dracula.
Mhm.
It's like the uncut extended version.
Okay.
Picked up Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned, and Vampire Lestat.
Okay. So a few Anne Rice books.
Yeah, they were all like 99 cents at Goodwill.
Were they the prose novels or were they the comic adaptations?
They're the actual novels, the little short, fat.
Have you ever
trade
actually read
size.
any Anne Rice books?
I read Interview way back when I was in like 6th grade.
Okay.
So it's been a while, but I like the movies and I figured, 99 cents, I wouldn't pass it up.
I would say the books have a lot more pornography in them than the movies do.
Yeah.
So, just be prepared for that. Anne Rice actually did release erotica.
Really? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that.
Yeah, she did under the name Anne Rampling, I think, something like that. And her erotica, I didn't read it, but Emily did. Her erotica is not the normal sort of things you would think about because it's got like sexualized rape scenes and things like that in there.
Huh.
It's a bit bizarre. A lot of her books actually have kind of like rape fantasies going on.
Weird.
It's kind of strange.
weird.
It's on the strange side, but there's definitely a lot of erotic elements to her writing.
Right.
The only one of them that I found bothersome at all was The Witching Hour, because it's the only one that the sexuality was aimed at a kid in the book.
Eesh.
Yeah, it was like a 13-year-old, 12 or 13-year-old, something like that. And I was like, this kind of seems wrong. But Anne Rice is a very talented writer. So,
Yeah.
those are all good books. I've read them all. That's one thing to bear in mind is that there are a few scenes in almost all of her books where you're kind of like, I mean,
Is this okay?
sometimes the sex isn't that bad. Like in Pandora, have you ever read Pandora?
No.
Pandora is actually one of my favorites from the Vampire Chronicles book set. When she becomes a vampire, she's sleeping in the coffin with her husband. I think he's her husband at least. And she asks him to put it inside of her, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, it won't do anything because we can't feel that way anymore because vampires are hypersexualized but have no sexuality, which I actually found to be a pretty interesting little twist in her books. There's like probably 3 or 4 paragraphs that's just detailing like him putting it inside of her and the conversation they're having while it's happening. Even though she couldn't feel anything from it, it did comfort her. And they slept that way that night. And it's like, it's kind of a weird sort of thing, but that was really the only sexuality in there. But then there's other books like The Witching Hour. The Witching Hour is about 1,600 pages. And I would say 300 to 400 of them are sexual
Holy
scenes.
shit.
Wow.
Various levels of graphicness.
It's all just one long scene, actually.
Yeah,
It just
basically.
never ends.
Basically.
Start to finish.
Yeah, basically. And then Lasher, the follow-up to The Witching Hour, it had a lot of sex stuff in there, too. And so, but she's still a super talented writer. And at least the words she uses aren't incredibly weird. Like Stephen King, when he does sexual writing, the words are always so technical that you wonder, like, what his sex life must be like. Is it like when him and Tabitha, is it Tabitha? Or
I don't know.
I think it's Tabitha King. When they're having sex, is he all like, okay, honey, point A shall now go into point B. I gave you the Ikea manual just to make sure you understand.
That's your Stephen King.
Yeah, I know it's not very good, but he's got a really weird voice. It's really hard to imitate. Have you ever heard him speak?
I don't think so.
He's really, really, really nasally when he speaks. But at the same time, his voice is kind of deep because he's actually a pretty big guy. He's got a strange
Is
voice.
he? I
Yeah,
never
he's
imagined
like-
him as being a big guy.
Well, not big in terms of broad, but he's big in terms of height. He's like 6'2" or 6'3", something like that. So
He is 6'4".
6'4"? Jesus,
Holy
he's even taller
shit.
than I thought he was.
I never thought he was that big. I thought he was like some small dude.
No,
that
he's
writes
tall.
these books.
He's really tall. But yeah, that's my impression of how it must be when he talks about sex. It's kind of like when he's going to the bathroom. He's probably like, "I'm about to go have a bowel movement. Da 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 da. Here's the IKEA manual for it." And some of his writing is just oddly technical. about just the most normal base things. Apparently when he was writing Carrie, he had written the whole scene with the girls throwing tampons and pads at Carrie as them throwing sanitary napkins, right? And his wife looks over it, and he only continued reading that because she rescued it from the garbage, or writing that because she rescued it from the garbage, and wanted to know where the story went, right? But she told him the one thing he had to change, and it was no woman in the world would say sanitary napkins. Change that to pads or tampons. And so
Sounds like he's just some awkward old dude.
he is an awkward guy, I think. I think that's a lot of it, right there. But I also noticed his son Joe Hill has kind of the overly technical and weird human spots type writing style.
But he's brought it by this guy.
Yeah, I know.
That writes these crazy horror books.
Now you're going through puberty, son. Here's the Ikea manual on it. I don't know why that's that's my thing right now. Okay, so anyway, go ahead. What'd you read lately, Robert?
I haven't been reading much, working mostly, but I'm trying to continue with the Sandman series because I really like it. Sandman Slim book series.
You're not talking about No Game in Sandman?
No, comics-wise, I haven't really read much. Mostly I've been just doing the audiobooks because it's a lot easier to get that in while I'm doing.
Did you read The Darkness yet? Did I give you last time you were here?
No, I haven't even read that yet. I did get a book that should be interesting. I got it actually for Nicole for Christmas, but she's done with it now, so I can read it. She likes this sort of medical, gory stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool too. So I thought, hey, I could read it too. It's The Butchering Art. Joseph Lister's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine. So it's like sanitary things coming into play, stuff like that, how grisly it was. There's the whole theater for everyone to watch, that sort of thing.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
It's always cool to hear about how fucked up everything was.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the From Hell movie, is when they're doing the surgeries inside that mini Coliseum looking school, Because they have all the theater seats all up above the surgery area,
Imagine if they still had a theater for people to watch that weren't like the doctors or something like that.
Right.
Other people on staff. Like everybody can, hey, just come
kind of like
and
how they have the surgery channel, but it was actually live that you could go see it.
How crazy would that be?
I would not want to be one of the people being operated on.
Yeah.
No, that's a lot of pressure. But it always seems like surgeons they want to be the best. They have to be the best. There's a lot of competition.
I've seen Scrubs.
Yeah. So, they're going to want to continue that, and they're going to want to be on TV. So, they're going to try to be the best.
Yeah, that is true. But
the second you kill someone on TV...
Oh, man. But that part of Scrubs is very true, where the surgeons are basically the jocks, and they're the hyper-competitive. When my son had to have surgery when he was first born, the surgeon was so calm and nice and reassuring, but one of the things he just kept telling me again and again is, I've done this surgery this many times. The next surgeon in this field has only done it this many times. I'm better than he is. I'm the best. And I was like, okay, on the one hand, this is exactly what I want to hear. On the other hand, he knew the exact number that both of them had done, and I was like, damn, your stats.
It's reassuring. But
you got to have the best stats, man.
Right? Well, yeah, it's almost kind of like a baseball player in a way. Like they know exactly how many hits they have had in this, and da-da-da. So.
They all got their stats.
Well, that sounds like a good book, though. Make sure to tell us about it.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah, after you read it. So let's see here. You want to know what all I've read?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Well, I've accumulated several books in the time frame since we were last on. Had I already been to Frankenstein last time we recorded?
When was that?
February. Well, no, I've been there. We've recorded since then. It was February 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we did that.
I picked up quite a few graphic novels and single issues there, but let's see. This last week, I got the first of the new hardcover Conan omnibus editions. So it's Conan the Barbarian Omnibus. I love Conan. Fuck off, man. And the company that I got it from was having a special on what's it called Starman. Starman Volume 5 Omnibus. It was only $9.99, so I went ahead and ordered that because I've heard great things about that series over the years. Now I just need to track down the other 4 on that. The Goon Library Editions, which are those big monster things over there. Dark Horse's store, Things From Another World, was clearancing those out for $12 a piece. So I picked up number 2 and 5 because that's all they had. And I asked the guy why they were getting rid of them. Apparently it's just because Dark Horse lost the rights to the Goon. So they're clearancing them out at their store. I'm like, dude, I'm not willing to take like a $38 hit per book because I lost the rights to something. Like, they still have the rights to sell those books at the store.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
Right? But apparently they're just like, get rid of that shit. So I got those, and then, let's see here. A lot of what I got was at Frankenstein. Oh, a lady traded me 3 Omnivore editions of Chew for a bunch of camping gear that I had gotten for free. So that was pretty cool. Because actually it wasn't even a lot of camping gear. It was like a tent and a fishing pole and a fishing bag that cost me nothing. And she offered me those in exchange. And I'm like,
What'd you get?
The 3 hardcover editions of Chew. They're the Omnivore editions, so each one collects 2 trade paperbacks.
I got Alex one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which one.
No, I just need to find the other 3.
I think it was green.
I don't have the green one, so maybe I could steal that one from him.
Yeah, there you go. I want to say that was the one.
Sounds like a good idea to me. I'd like to steal from Alex. So, anyway, so in terms of what I've read so far, though, I finished reading The Strangers in Paradise Omnibus.
Oh, finally. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, finished reading that one. Let's see here. I read Amazing Heroes number 44, but you guys probably aren't interested in that because Amazing Heroes is a industry magazine from the 80s.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, not interested in that one. I read Castle Waiting, The Curse of Brambley Hedge. I just started on Dial H for Hero. It's the new 52 version of it in trade paperback form. That was one of them I picked up for 50 cents at that Frankenstein comic swap. And then I read one issue of this thing that I pulled randomly out of my bins the other day called Dog Mendoza and Pizza Boy, which is actually a fucking hilarious comic, and now I want to get the trade paperbacks for it. So it's about a guy who has 6 sisters, and apparently if you're a boy born after 6 girls, you're automatically cursed to be a werewolf.
Well, okay then.
And
that's unfortunate.
he starts a job as a private eye because he can transform between monster and man. So he needs to keep an eye on the human world to make sure they're staying away from the monsters. So he investigates whenever there's a monster sighting. And if it turns out the monster is actually breaking the monster pack and going after humans, then him and Pizza Boy, who I do believe is just a regular pizza delivery boy, will take on the monster. And it had a lot of humor worked into it. Like, there was a panel replaced with a can of cola, right? And Pizza Boy's asking him why there's a can of cola there. And he said because he sold one of the pages that Dark Horse allotted them in exchange for advertising revenue. And it was good. I never heard of it before, but I highly recommend it if you like humor and monsters.
When you talk about it, it makes me think of Dylan Dog, like the movie version.
I would say there are definitely some parallels there. Yeah, if you like Dylan Dog, if the movie version more than the comic.
I love them both.
Me too. I do have to say though that I do actually prefer the movie version. I like the comedy in it a bit better.
It was really funny.
And then Screamland, if you like Screamland, Highway 13, any of those type of books. If you like Shaun of the Dead or anything like that, you'd probably, going with things that more people probably know than the other things I just listed off. It's a horror-omedy in comic form. It's good. I like it. I want to get the trade paperbacks for it.
What was that name again?
It's Dog Mendoza and Pizza Boy.
Dog Mendoza and Pizza Boy.
Yes.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
I dig
it is.
that.
It is. And I like the fact the werewolf is this really fat guy when he's not in werewolf form, too.
Does he get all buff and lean when he's a werewolf?
He looks like a standard werewolf, yeah. But when he's just the regular private eye guy, he's this fat guy smoking a cigarette. But Dial H for Hero, I think I made it through the first half of so far. It's actually really good. I guess there are only 2 trade paperbacks in total, but if it stays as good as it has been for the first 3 issues of the trade, I'll definitely be picking up the second one and reading it. I think it's one of the casualties of the New 52 that they had stopped it when they did like DC Rebirth or whatever it's called. But that one is actually pretty good because it's about a guy who gets a dial, and it's mentioned a lot of times at the old rotary phones, where the hell did these even come from these days? But this one appears outside of his house, and his friend's getting attacked. The friend's not innocent, by the way. He's actually involved in like this drug world. But friend's getting attacked, and he picks up the phone. And he's trying to call 911 to call the police, but he's this big fat guy that's out of shape and smokes all the time, and dials the wrong number. Dials Hero instead. And the old comic from the 70s, when you dialed H for Hero, you never chose what you became. It was like all these different heroes from an alternate realm, and one would randomly come out, and you might have these crazy ass powers where you're like a chimney smoke guy, or a computer that was rebooting everything, or you might be more of like a Superman hero, right? But he pretty much just keeps getting the crappy heroes. So he's Chimney Smoke Boy, and then in the second issue, he becomes Captain Lakatos or something like that. And his whole thing, yep, that's comic right there. His whole thing is just making people cry about everything. So all these gangsters are having mental breakdowns about the dogs that died when they were like 6 years old and all this shit. It has a lot of superhero elements, but I have to actually say that it feels more like a crime story than a superhero story. Superhero stories are secondary to the kind of like the crime that's going on and things like that. And then it actually has some really cool stuff in there about like the void of nothingness and shit like that most comics don't think, superhero comics anyway, don't think large enough to ever incorporate things like that. And I like that they ran the risk of losing their audience by making something too intelligent and did it anyway, Because most time people will pull back and dumb their idea down. They didn't in this comic, and I like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Strangers in Paradise, I, of course, highly, highly recommend. Now that I finished it up, it turns out that the sequel, the 25th Year series that Terry Moore did, is being collected in omnibus form. It's only 10 issues in total.
Oh, so a lot less to work through than
a lot less to work through. A whole lot less to work through. But yeah, he did a follow-up series that's called Strangers in Paradise 25, and it's both the 25th anniversary and like what's happened with these characters since the series ended,
Sounds pretty cool.
But Strangers in Paradise is one of the best comics I've ever read. It's also one of the most difficult to explain because I can't tell you guys too much about it without spoiling the whole thing. But, it looks like it's just a love story if you judge it by the covers, right? Strangers in Paradise is actually a crime noir story with love as a backdrop. So, yeah, I can't really get into it any more than that, though, without spoiling it for you guys and anyone who's listening. So anyway, that was my reading this week. So,
little side note before you end this Adventures of Dog
Mendoza and Pizza Boy.
Yeah, it was turned into a little computer game too.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, video game adaptation.
Oh, nice.
Interactive Adventures of. So,
well, I'm definitely going to be looking for that one in trade paperback form, whether I find it at a con or just break down and pay full price for it on one of the comic websites.
You can pay full price for the game if you want.
Yeah, how much is it?
$15.
Yeah, the thing is I could pick up the trade paperbacks for that, so.
Yeah, I'd stick with that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's it for this week. I'm Adam Watson.
Robert Diaz.
Levon Baker.
Thank you for listening.